All right, guys, we are back today with my 2024 Chevy Trax here. Now, as the title says, this is going to be things I hate about this car, and it's probably going to be titled somewhere along the lines of "Don't buy this thing." I'm going to sum it up real fast. This has been the nightmare I have not been able to wake up from for the last 2 weeks. So I have a whole list of things right here. We're going to go over front and back, unfortunately, of things why you might not want to buy this car. Now, this is if you're coming from something nicer than this. So if you're downgrading to a Chevy Trax, if you're coming from a luxury car, something like that. Now, if you're coming from like a Chevy Aveo, this might be your fit. But coming from somebody that's owned a few things a little bit nicer than this, these are the gripes I have with the car, and I would like to share them with you so you don't make the mistake I made. Now, I will say Chevy really made this generation a lot nicer than the previous generation Trax. And with all that being said, this is Chevy's cheapest car that they make and they sell. So it's only going to be so good. But like I said, if you're coming from something nicer, you might be expecting more out of something like this. And I was the one to discover that for you guys. So that being said, this car currently is for sale. I kind of went into this thing half and half. I was going to like it or I wasn't going to like it. Unfortunately, I don't care for it all that much. Not saying that it is a bad car, but like I said, there are some things that this car I just cannot get over, and unfortunately the list of things I hate is definitely a lot longer than things I like. So I'm just going to jump right into it, pull the band-aid off, and go over it with you guys. Now, it is a very stylish looking car. That is what sold me on this. GM sold the hell out of this car to me. As far as the looks, I think it's a good looking little car, but that's really about where it ends. So without any further ado, guys, we'll state the obvious. This thing has a 1.3 liter or a 1.2 liter Ecotec. It's got like 130 horsepower, 160 pound-feet of torque. It's slow. It's just the way the car puts the power down at anything above 60. It's not good. It's almost dangerously slow. Like I said, it's 1.2 liter. You're only going to get so much out of it, but it doesn't put the power down all that great. Anything under 60 is not too bad, but with that comes the way the transmission is tuned on this. It's very poorly tuned. It wants to get into the highest gear as soon as possible, and when you put your foot down, there's like a 3-second delay for this thing to downshift. If GM rectified the way this thing was tuned as far as shifting goes, I think it would be a lot peppier and a lot more responsive to drive. The way this thing is tuned currently, it's pathetic. Go drive one for yourselves. I might even throw a clip in to show you how long it takes for it to shift. Now, if you're just putzing around like most people will in this car, it'll probably be fine. But if you want to kind of zip around in this car, it's going to be very challenging for you to do so. Even in manual mode, it's very unresponsive. The buttons on the shifter don't work great at all. So with that said, I was pretty disappointed in that as well. And then another thing, with it being slow, you would expect it to be fuel efficient. This thing is advertised at 28 in the city, 32 on the highway, and I want to say it's 30 combined. I'm getting barely 25 miles a gallon out of this car. Now that's doing about 80 to 85 miles an hour. But if you've been on the roads in this current day and age, everybody does 80, 85. Most people do 90. So I'm getting barely 25 miles a gallon out of this. Now, if it were to get maybe closer to 30, I would be okay with the poor performance. So unfortunately, the mileage is not all that great. And I did read that on some of the reviews of this. They also complained about poor mileage. You'd probably get the same mileage out of a Chevy Blazer with the V6. So as far as that goes, you know, it does get kind of bad gas mileage. And then one thing I was really excited about this car when I had bought it initially, or when I had found it, it had a sunroof. That's a requirement for me to have. I do enjoy the sunroofs. Unfortunately, this one does tilt and slide back, so you have all your typical sunroof functions, but the thing buffers at very low speeds. I mean, when you're sitting at a traffic light and you're getting ready to take off, like to gain speed, it buffers anywhere from 20 mile an hour up to 60. It's just not great. The windscreen, it's either the windscreen or the way the roof is designed, but the thing buffers like crazy. So I'm tilting it right now, but as you can see, if you hit this button, you get a nice tilt. I use the tilt more than anything because it buffers so bad. But we'll hit the button here to let it slide back. And when it slides back, there's the typical bong going off. We don't care for that either. But aside from that, the wind buffer it's not very great. I know Chevy's used a lot of the bigger ones with like the felt film. This would definitely benefit from that. This thing rattles all over the place when you're driving, and that's doing low speeds. So that's almost made it unbearable for me to use the sunroof on the Trax. So if you guys have a Trax without a sunroof, you're not, I wouldn't say you're missing a whole lot. I definitely at this point do not think it's worth the $1,000 upcharge, roughly whatever it is. So there that is. And then a lot of people probably won't run into this problem if you're getting such a small car, but for me, someone that's a little over 6 foot, it's not a tall car, it's not a short car, but I smack the hell out of my head when I get in and out of this thing. Now, maybe it could be my fault, but for anybody that's taller, be mindful of your head here when you get in and out. You have great opportunity to smack your face into it, which I've done on numerous occasions. And then at that point, you know, that's kind of a bummer when you do that. It's not too fun to smack your face on the A-pillar up top there as well. Then we'll slide right on down to the hard plastics of this thing. And now this will go back to what I said at the beginning of the video, guys. This is GM's cheapest model, so it's going to probably have some plastic in places. Maybe it's my own personal gripe, but it's still gripe that I would like to have on the video for you to know and to think about. Everything up here is, everything in this car is hard plastic. There's not one piece of soft material in this car. You get a rubber, this is hard, a hard rubber coated armrest. That's not fun. I mean, I don't think it's so much to ask from something that's maybe slightly padded here. This is where your elbows rest. That's not fun to rest your elbows on hard material. And then that goes right along to say with the armrest as well. This is hard rubber. It's ever so slightly padded, but it may as well be hard. Now, I do know your higher models, maybe like your active model, will give you some stitching here, but it's too bad you have to pay a couple $1,000s more to get a piece of material that'll keep your elbows from, you know, going berserk, especially when you hit your funny bone, because I have done that. Like I said, my hate list is a lot longer than my like list, and I really hate to make that I really hate to make this video like this, but again, these are real things and I think people will come to see this. So then we have no lumbar on this thing. Again, I don't think a lumbar is too much to ask at this point. To have maybe like a little twister. There's no lumbar on this seat. I will say they are pretty comfortable overall. But a lumbar would make it a lot nicer. It would benefit from one. Like I said, the seats aren't all that bad. The plastic is pretty scratchy and annoying to sit on. So the material isn't the best as well. Again, that's just my own personal opinion, but you feel like you're sitting on like that Velcro stuff. It feels like you're sitting on Velcro. So that's kind of annoying as well. And then another thing I noticed literally the second I bought this car, I bought it on a hot summer day, of course. So the AC did have to run. So the AC was running when I bought the car. I decided to get out and look at it when I bought it. I had the AC on while the car was running. Again, this could be considered a minor gripe, but you know, the way technology's gone with vehicles these days, my gripe is that the compressor is very loud and unrefined sounding. Now we'll see if we can get it clicking on and off here. So as you can tell, the AC compressor seems to click on and off whenever it wants to. Now that's fine, it's probably just doing what it's got to do. But when it clicks on, it's just very unrefined and it's almost kind of loud. It sounds kind of clunkerish. Again, that's my own opinion. I think they could have done a better job. Maybe they're using cheap compressors, who's to say. But we'll go right on to the next thing that I really don't care for, and I'm sure a lot of people might notice this as well. When you go to tilt the wheel, your gauge cluster does not move with the rest of the wheel. So we'll go on in and sit down and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So when you sit in the car, my eyesight is here roughly, and I like the wheel kind of low, so when I drive I can just rest my hand right here and drive. So my eyes are right here. You cannot see the gauges, so the wheel will just have to be tilted up almost as high as it can go for a 6 foot tall person. And now at that point, it's just not fun to hold the wheel. But so you do have to see the gauges. So the wheel does stay up high like this. As much as I would like it down here, you can't see the gauges. I think that was another afterthought on their part. Unfortunately, I think they could have made it easily attached, but that's another gripe, a little gripe I had. And since it is so hot out today, I'd like to mention the last few things on the list here. For something that is an SUV, now this is, I would consider this to be a lifted Chevy Cruze. They should have just called it the Chevy Cruze Active and just got rid of the Trax and kept the Trailblazer, but that's my own opinion. This thing has a very poor ride. It crashes over any type of bump, like a bump like that curb. This whole car is gonna rattle from that. I mean, I was blown away how bad the ride was on this car, considering that you have like some decent tires on this thing. Like there's some decent thick wide tires. These are 225 55 18s, and then they're Goodyear assurances, so like you have a good little package here. Just looking from the rear of the car, it does have some nice fat tires on it. So just the way the chassis is, it's just a piss poor ride. And I'm not sugarcoating it. It's a bummer. And then the numb handling and power steering. This car can't even take a corner without nose diving. And that is my total honest, real truth here. If anything, I thought this car's one redeeming thing might be that it could take a corner. This thing, it's not great. My 2007 Explorer can take a corner just as good as this thing can. This handles just like that, and it's not even near the size of it. And then the numb steering, it's pretty bad. The steering it doesn't really feel like it's connected to anything. And now anybody driving a Chevy Trax probably isn't going to care about this kind of stuff, but like I said, if you're in my perspective buying something like this, hopefully you're not. That's just things you're going to notice probably not too long into owning this car. But with the bad, we will come the good. So I'm going to tell you guys the things I like about this car, and it's going to be shorter, so the list isn't all that long. But it's a few things that I do like about the car, and those are the things that are kind of keeping me sane while owning it for these 600 miles. So I will say the car is brand new. The brakes on this car are really good. It's got 4-wheel disc brakes, as probably hopefully any new car would have. It's got really good brakes, so it feels really planted to the road when you have to have a panic stop. And we'll just walk away from that thing right there onto the next topic. It's got auto down windows. I like the auto down windows. Any car from the 1990s and up should hopefully have this option, but it does have all 4 automatic down windows. So you do have that going for it, but they are manual up. It does have nice lane keep assist as well. So the lane keep isn't half bad. I have used it a few times. It does center you pretty nice. Then the auto on off, it's not all that bad either. It's pretty refined. Those are things I think GM does have good as far as safety features and whatnot. It does have automatic high beams as well. They're not all that responsive, but they do work when you need them, and they don't really turn on when you don't need them. So, I mean, I'll say that's a win, I guess. Another thing I really like is the steering wheel. It's a nice wrapped wheel. All your things you need here. It's pretty easy to read. You have your heat, your following distance, your cruise controls, and your audio settings as well with your Bluetooth. Again, it's nice and wrapped, looks pretty good. The flat bottom is super nice. It just feels good in your hands when you're driving. So I think the steering wheel, it's a nice thing to do, especially in the Trax. I like it, I quite like it. The heated seats, they do get pretty hot as well. We do have heated seats down here. They are 3-stage along with the wheel. All 3 of these things, they do get very hot. Even the back is heated as well. And then the next thing I like, and the thing I touched a little bit ago, was the sunroof. It tilts. Since I can't use it due to the buffering, I can't slide it back. I can at least tilt it. So that's nice, and it does open up quite a bit, and it does allow for a good bit of air to flow through the cabin. And then the car does have pretty bright lights, so we'll get out. I'll show you them for visual sake. They're pretty bright. I mean, it's a new car with LED lights. I would hope they're bright. I mean, everything pretty much as bright. That's new today, but nonetheless, they are projectors and they are bright. GM did use the incandescent bulbs right here in the lower models. The good old incandescence with the LED combo. Looks amazing on the road. Not, but yeah, guys, that's kind of my like and hate of the Trax. Maybe I'm giving this car an unfair shake, but for me personally, I've owned it for less than 2 weeks and it's all ready for sale. I don't anticipate losing any money on this car, as hot as it is. And when this video goes up, the car will already be sold. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make any more videos of it. I hope I don't get too much hate for this video, because I really wanted to go into this car. I mean, I liked it so much that I bought one. And then when I bought it, everything that I told you guys, unfortunately, came to be. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful one way or another. If not, thank you for watching anyways. And guys, we'll have some more videos at some point on something else in the future. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you all later.